This video is my reaction to the Ravens' 24-16 win over the Colts preseason week 1. I'm going to separate my thoughts here and some of my reaction into the two halves. It really just seems to be that kind of night. I'm going to review the first half first. It was more noteworthy in terms of plays with some of my observations and things to focus on for the guys who were either second string or might in some cases be on the field as a starter or in between first and second string. Young guys, man, were extremely active tonight, especially early, with a few exceptions. I thought it was a fun blend of guys who were making plays. From Keaton Mitchell, clearly he's got his burst and explosion back, which has been the reports from training camp. Credit to Ken from Film Study Ravens. He's consistently said that Keaton Mitchell's been one of the best players on the field, if not the best, and he showed that tonight. Really didn't belong out on the field. There came a time for me after his 22-yard touchdown where I was like, okay, can we get him off the field? LeJontay Wester and Rasheen Ali, those guys made big plays all over, special teams and running the ball. I think the outside linebacker group is going to warrant a ton of attention, either from film study stuff that I try to do or from others. Mike Green is going to get most of that attention, right? And it's well-deserved, don't get me wrong, because he looks like an absolute badass. Also very versatile. He showed a nice awareness and physicality when dropping out in coverage. So I think that's something to explore and talk about a little further if I get a chance to do a video on him. Ojabo and Adisa Isaac, they showed progress as well. I thought Ojabo had 3 wins in pass pro. Well, 2 actually, right? The sack that knocked Anthony Richardson out of the game, he was unblocked. That one didn't require, a move at all. Offensively, things struggled, right, because of our pass pro or inability to pass pro, and then the quarterback limitations, which are obvious, and I won't belabor those points here. We did have 2 nice drives in the first half. I guess actually 3, right? One of them, unfortunately, ended with an interception by Leary. But the second possession, which I'll review here in a couple of moments, that one was capped by Mitchell's 22-yard touchdown run. I think that one was 7 plays, 71 yards. We did have 2 completions on the drive. I think both are of the play-action variety from Cooper Rush, who only finished, I think, those were his only 2 completions, 2 of 4 for 16 yards. I almost feel like we need to get him some more reps for his comfort level and the comfort level of some of the guys he's going to throw with as the preseason progresses, and if, God forbid, he ended up in a regular season game. We also scored on our 6th possession. That was after the huge return by Rasheen Ali. He got a kick return, in fact, I should say. He got interrupted by the kicker initially, and then had to kind of bounce towards the left side and eventually gets tackled or maybe pushed out of bounds. I'll let some stats flow through here. They perhaps are a little zoomed out depending on what device you're on. Forgive me for that. So I'm going to review the first half here. I think that would be more productive, and it's not to discount the guys who played well and were on the field in the 3rd and 4th quarter, right? I think it's Higgins, a UDFA. Man, he played like his hair was on fire. Some really good stuff by him and others, lesser-known guys. But let's talk about the first half. Despite having only 3 passing yards, it really kind of felt like going back in time. If you're an old enough Ravens fan, you can remember games from like 2000, 2001, 2002. In that era, in that range, I'm talking about playing good defense, holding people down, or limiting them to field goals defensively when they do get in the red zone, and then special teams making plays and we're running the ball with very pedestrian passing stats. It sounds like essentially somebody said it in the Ravens Discord, this is your father's Ravens team in the first half. I had that thought I had that thought myself right around the time that Ali almost busted the kick return for a touchdown. And I think Rod Woodson on the home broadcast actually said he's gone. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, but we finished it off, actually, Ali with a short touchdown. It was a short touchdown run later. It was a great play, right? It got us in position. I didn't really have any confidence in us to run a 2-minute drill, or I guess it would have been maybe a 3 or 3.5-minute drill against the Colts defense. I have no knowledge of who they were playing on defense at all, but for us to, at that point, drop back and throw the ball successfully, I just didn't think was gonna be able to occur realistically, because we'd have to pass pro, and we didn't do that well at all, no matter who was in the game. I think it was Cleveland 66 at left guard, but I could be wrong. He was the only guy that I thought I saw with consistent pass pro. The right tackle, right guard combination, our starters, got beat cleanly on the same play on the second. I think it was the third possession, excuse me. But focusing on some of the positives, right? Our edge defenders made a big impact on the defensive side of the ball. Our quarterback's throwing interceptions and we're handing the ball off a lot. Those guys really brought some flavor to the game, or piqued my interest at least. Ojabo with the sack had, I thought, 2 clear wins, of one of which I thought maybe he got held. Green he's explosive. I thought he had 2 clean wins in the pass rush situations as well. Isaac finished off one of those with a sack. I think Isaac got credit for the sack, but he looked good too. I did think Isaac gave up the edge on a play action boot concept to the quarterback's right, the quarterback's throwing hand. Where the field is, just can't do that if you ask me. But generally played quite well. Those 3 guys were flashing early in the game. They totaled, I believe, well, in the first half, I should say, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and I thought at least 1, if not 2 other QB pressures. LaJohntay Wester, like I said, spectacular on offense. Something to note, however, on those 2 punt returns, right? The 87-yard touchdown return, his second one, and then the first one, which I believe was like a 20-yard variety, or maybe it was 18. I'm not sure. They both involved double teams on the wide receivers. I guess I should say the gunners. So because of the situation, we didn't think that the Colts would fake, or whatever the situation or the dynamic was that led to that decision. We double teamed both gunners. So that gave Wester the opportunity to be able to get downfield, to be able to make a hesitation move or a cut. He's difficult to tackle, explosive. You can see why so many people think he's going to make the team. His 87-yard punt return put us up 14-3, still in the first quarter. Eventually that would grow or get cut, I guess, to 21-9 late in the second quarter after the huge kick return by Ali and then the short touchdown run. His kick return was 69 yards. So really cool to see our special teams playing well. Those young guys kind of offset what we saw from Rush and Leary. It's professional football. It's the NFL. We have to be realistic about what we saw. Rush and Leary, I think, were 2 of 7 passing for 3 yards in the first half. The difference between their performance versus some of the other guys making plays that I mentioned was drastic. And if we don't mention that and talk about it, we're just not being intellectually honest at all. I thought JAD played really well on 3 reps in the first half that kind of highlighted. One of them, I think, was zone, and to me it looked like the quarterback was looking to his side initially and chose to go somewhere else. But a nice pass defense on a comeback by A.D. Mitchell or Adonai Mitchell. And that was Daniel Jones in the game because at that point Richardson had been knocked out. The throw from Jones on that particular play, it might have been to the inside, but live, I thought JAD's reaction was a good one. He also had that play particularly was a nice stop after the Leary interception that was down into the red zone. So JAD was there. He looked active, in my opinion, especially against a talented guy like Mitchell. Offensive line did a great job of run blocking that is shown or displayed by the fact that we ran for, I think, almost 180, maybe 177 right there on the screen. But pass pro was abysmal. No matter who we had in the game, your judgment of it, the words you used to apply may be different than mine, and that's no problem. But Rosengarten got beat. I get it. You know, he's trying to get to the high side, and that's where he got beat. So Falele gets basically jackhammered into the quarterback on the same exact play. He's dump trucked back into the quarterback's lap. I get it. People are already online making excuses. He tripped over someone's foot. Those are our starting right guard and right tackle, and in my opinion, it looks very similar, the same dynamic as we saw in last preseason. Whenever we had to pass pro in known passing situations in the preseason last year and early in the season, week 1 and 2, we struggled. That's my assessment. You may have a different one than me. That dynamic, at least from the limited sample size we saw tonight, still exists in the same manner. It improved over the course of the season overall, don't get me wrong, but they've been in training camp. The offensive line coach Warhop and head coach Harbaugh and the offensive coordinator Munkin are around every day. And the guys they put out on the field tonight, whether it was first string, second string, or third string, I didn't think they pass pro'd very well. I could be wrong there. They definitely got Rosengarten and Falele off the field pretty quickly after that situation. Read into it whatever you want. Later in the second quarter, when we were forced into known pass pro situations, same deal, just as bad, if not worse. And I'm not excusing the decisions by Rush and Leary, right? Rush had the slot fade on the second play of the game. It's a 2nd and 9 after a 1-yard run by Mitchell. It's empty, and I just don't feel like Dayton Wade is in our best interest on that concept. He's a talented guy. At this point, he's got some obvious competition with Wester to make the team. I just don't think Wade seems like a slot fade guy to me. I thought it was a horrible call. the offensive pass interference on Wade, that is. To me, I didn't see any interference. You're welcome to let me know if you saw it differently. The only thing worse than the throw and the call, if you ask me, was the decision by Rush. Leary also threw an interception to cap the fourth possession, which was quite long. I think it's a 3rd and 10, and we're down inside the 20-yard line. It's a 4-man rush. I think we've just got to be better with the football. But reality, no one is open. There is no one available to throw the football to. So it's a little bit harsh here on the quarterback, but you can't turn it over when we're trying to get points. We've talked about that for multiple years with Lamar and other quarterbacks that have played for us during that time. The standard is high if you're playing quarterback in the NFL. When you're down in there in the red zone and you've got points, 3 points, take a sack, scramble, whatever you've got to do. I just think those two guys, Rush and Leary, are not living up to the standard that the rest of the team played tonight against the Colts. That's my opinion. Let me review the second possession here, and then we'll get into some other issues from tonight besides the quarterback and pass pro stuff. So 2 passes on this particular drive. There's a speed out to Mitchell into the boundary. That's the 4th play down from the top of your screen. So we hadn't reached midfield yet, and it's Wallace. I said Mitchell, excuse me. So speed out to Wallace. It's kind of open there by alignment to the corner. So a little bit of a gimme for Rush, but then a nice play action concept. It's the 6th play, the second one from the bottom for you guys. 1st and 10 from the 29. If it's no negative in front of the 29, that means it's the Colts 29. I'm not going to put plus because I type this all as the game occurs. So it's 21 personnel, and it looked to me like Monken was using the same formations repeatedly tonight. Saw a lot of the same formations. Even on this drive, you can see pro slot under center. That's the UC designation twice on this drive. Pro I twice. In this case, the play that I'm referring to is a completion to Kolar into the boundary that really set up the very next play. It was a 7-yard completion to Kolar. The very next snap is Keaton Mitchell. Huge lane. Rod Woodson called it. I think he even said he's gone or something like that immediately. 22 yards. Badass to see Mitchell playing at that level with that type of burst. I think it was an F counter play to the weak side, and I believe that Rosengarten and Falele were still in. So I really can't wait to see that play and see how those two guys blocked it, because it was obviously quite successful. It's a gap scheme, if you will. Anything that's labeled counter is generally going to be a gap scheme. Really nice variety of calls from Monken on this drive. I feel like he has shown the ability to adapt the types of plays that he calls depending on the quarterback that's in the game. Essentially, if we had our other backup quarterback from the last couple of years in, Johnson, I feel like you'd be seeing more quick pass concepts because he's got the confidence and knowledge to be able to recognize the defense and get rid of it from the wealth of experience that he has. For whatever reason, Rush doesn't seem to have the same comfort level when he's back there, and I felt like that dynamic even existed a little bit in the stadium practice that we saw last Sunday. I'll let a little bit of the stats flow through here and talk about the some other issues that focus on. I'm really not going to delve into the second half a whole lot. I don't think that we necessarily need to. I really am excited, first of all, to see the film come out, because you get a real sense of the depth of this team in the first half, right? Despite so many starters not playing. And I felt like, the Colts have 2 starting quarterbacks, or 2 guys who've started games in the NFL, one of which is probably going to start a whole lot here soon. Richardson's finger was horribly broken after the hit by Ojabo, but Richardson and Daniel Jones have both started games. Mitchell is on the field. Tyler Warren, their first-round pick, is on the field. I didn't see Jonathan Taylor, but I saw some other good football players out there. I thought our young guys acquitted themselves really well. They took it to the Colts on defense, made some stops, limited them to some field goals at times. I'm a little frustrated by, on defense, our inability to deal with 11 personnel, same-side run stuff. It's very similar to what the Colts did in Baltimore in their Week 3 win in 2023. Shane Steichen was the head coach then. Also, conceptually, almost an absolute match to what the Eagles did in the preseason the last 2 years. 11 personnel, tight end, running back into the boundary, run to that side. It really is kind of rinse, wash, repeat, especially in short yardage situations. But really, the defense was active, led by the outside linebackers, or edge defenders, if you will, competitive group over there. Unfortunately, we did have an injury to the corner, or the rookie corner, Bill Elcone, who apparently might be out for the year. Again, I would characterize our offensive line performance tonight as similar to last preseason, superior in the sense that we blocked a whole lot better for run plays, that is, but not pass pro. You're welcome to let me know if I'm misremembering 1 season ago, or 1 year ago, I should say, in the preseason. But I recall more than just our backups at that time having issues in the preseason. Well, what's the excuse for our offensive line coach and our staff now? What kind of excuses are we? Last year it was, Warhop just stepped into this job, and we're dealing with a difficult situation. I recognize that was reality a year ago. It's not right now. Those guys have been around, and I would say, at least after one game, a small sample size, we appear to be pretty much in the same spot. JAD, I've already mentioned, it was fun to see him. As an aside, I do track formations. Excuse me, I track coverages for the Ravens defense for the first 10 possessions. So that's there's a multitude of reasons for that. At least one is I like to know what we're trying to do. What I think the coverage is, of course, when I get the all 22, I can really know because you can look at it and try to figure it out yourself. But the second reason is I'm going to put together a video every week on the Ravens coverages and a little bit of a surprise as to who will help me produce that and how we'll get that done. I couldn't really get a read on the safeties for the Ravens tonight, how they played, but I felt like the outside corners did a nice job. I'm interested to see the reads and reactions for the inside linebackers. I thought Simpson was there when he was in the game. A couple of guys I was just not as impressed with. Buchanan didn't look to be reading things fast to me at all. I may have missed that. I may have missed some tackles or some things that he showed up at. But in fact, he had one play action where he's severely behind the play. I think it's Tyler Warren to early in the second quarter, and I may have seen that wrong. I just did not see him show up at all. I try to document as much as I can on the defense in an Excel document during the game. Maybe next time I'll screenshot some of that if you want so you guys can see it. Backup quarterback situation, really already kind of covered it a little bit. If you right now as a Ravens fan were to say, hey, coach, I think we should be looking at other options there, I wouldn't argue with you. I really would not. It's a little late in the game for that, obviously, but from a quality standpoint, if we ever did have to go to our backup in a competitive situation, how could you, after tonight's performance, have a whole lot of confidence in those guys? Of course, in the case of Cooper Rush, he'd be thrown to a different caliber player, right? Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. So, you can also have that perspective if you want. Hopefully we get better from those guys in the preseason. But right now, it feels like it's going to be a long next couple of weeks watching this level of quarterback play if things don't improve. I thought the Ravens defense in the third quarter was active, even though, Riley Leonard came in and played well. He did not overwhelm things numbers-wise. I felt like he got a little bit of an eye-opener, and Rod Woodson even covered it well on the broadcast. Riley Leonard went to like a zone read play and decided to keep it, and then Green still kind of tracked him down from behind. It was almost like Green took away the give and then tracked down the quarterback as well. It was a 4-yard gain, but for to be running away from the run play away from him from a Mike Green perspective, I thought it was really impressive. And then on the third down, the 2 plays later, I should say, the same sequence, Green jams the tight end and kind of from an inside-out angle, jams the tight end and settles under the route, not looking at the route. He just settles under it. The pass ended up being blocked, I believe, there by Peebles. You may recall it, the rookie defensive tackle, who also looks very athletic and plenty big enough to play on early downs. I thought the Ravens' overall front group, defensive line, defensive end, edge defender, whatever you want to call them, and defensive tackles, those guys were combative and competitive as hell to the point where Green drops out in pass coverage on that third down. I think it's like mid-third quarter. Indianapolis had 13 carries for 44 yards, and 8 yards of that was Riley Leonard's scramble. Now, they finished with a whole lot more rushing yards than that. I think they got to 126. But early, mid-third quarter, they had not developed much at all in terms of a consistent run game. A couple of things to note from the game, my observations, a little bit outside the stats. The Colts going hurry up against third-string guys in the third and fourth quarter. It's a little silly to me. The Colts got a big completion on their third quarter drive to Laquan Treadwell, former Raven, in fact. And Leonard then scrambled for 21 yards. It was a 4-man rush, and he scrambled for a 21-yard gain. I thought it was a little silly for them to be going hurry up against, the types of players that are out there on the field in the third quarter. Different maybe if you're down by 4 late in the fourth quarter, trying to tie the game. Trying to win the game, put players in situation. I get it. It is competitive football. It is the preseason. seemed a little bit unusual to me and something that I've seen coaches mention to the other sideline after the game. Those same along the next note for the Colts offense, it's a real pain to defend their same side run concepts. I'll cover it on YouTube and Twitter, and if you're in my Ravens Discord, I'll try to post up some things there when the film comes out. Same side run means the running back and tight end are on the same side, and you give it to the running back, and there's normally at least a two-way go, if not three. So you could take it downhill right off the tight end's down blocks, and there's going to be space there. Or you could kind of bounce it outside if the edge defender crashes down into the boundary. Who's there? Not the boundary side safety. We like to stay in a too high safety alignment. Boundary side safety is nowhere to be seen. And then, or you could wind it back to the weak side away from the tight end. And that's what happened. It's a read, and those guys are patient with it. You can tell it's a big part of their offense. I think it was Khalil Herbert who got in the end zone on after consecutive same side runs where he brought it back to the weak side. That's the drive where the Colts cut it to 21-16. I thought the Ravens' offensive limitations in the third quarter, were kind of laid to bear, at least what we had on the field. We couldn't pass pro well, and our quarterbacks were limited, even if we could pass pro. So just to judge off tonight, we seemed to be very limited once we got reduced our talent level, Keaton Mitchell and others getting off the field. The third quarter, we get another glimpse of Wester's skills, however. I think it's a third down. A really nice 30-yard gain. It's an underthrown ball by Leary. Maybe it's intentionally underthrown, so no judgment in saying that. And then, unfortunately, Loop misses the 46-yarder. He made up for it later with a 52-yarder. Both of those were huge bombs of kicks, and it just doesn't look like he tries to get as much into it as Tucker did. To compare them, there's really no sense in comparing them, but I feel like as an analyst, it's important to note this. Loop doesn't seem like he has to try so hard to get everything into it. It seemed like Tucker's margin for error was smaller because he was taking such violent swing path with his leg and with his plant foot. Loop seems a lot more under control, to me at least, in terms of getting a lot of power behind the football without much effort. From a Colts standpoint, it was really nice to see Jelani Woods make a catch in the fourth quarter and kind of be productive. If you don't know, he's a guy who played at Oklahoma State for 3 years, then went to Virginia and scored 8 touchdowns his final year in college. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, in fact, had an off-season injury. And I would love to see him stay healthy. We don't play them, so he's just a player I root for. Freak athlete, 6'7", and just a lot of good testing skills and measurables. Someone who I think could produce. For the Ravens offense, Monken seemed heavily focused on going into the boundary, whether it was a run or a pass, whether we had our starters for tonight in or third string guys. It was clear we were going to the boundary a lot. I think I need to, on these play charts that I keep or drive summaries, I guess, where I put some notes, I think at this point I need a field boundary column so that I can designate and recognize, okay, because I believe on this particular session, the second one, I believe that 5 of those plays went into the boundary, maybe 6, but I could be wrong. So that's something that seemed clear to me. Monken was focused on going to the boundary for whatever reason, no matter what the personnel group. Really interested, like I said earlier, in seeing the F counter play, the touchdown, because Rosengarten and Falele are over there, and that's where the play hit, so they definitely did something right. I had no idea who the Colts had in the game at that point, but defensively they seemed to be competitive. So I know they're supposedly missing a ton of starters, and JT, the outside linebacker, edge defender from Ohio State, got hurt tonight, which is unfortunate. I'm just really not into excuses about who's injured and who wasn't playing. Those guys, Rosengarten and Falele, deserve credit for executing what they did and springing Mitchell free for a touchdown. On the Mitchell note, I really don't need to see him anymore in the preseason. I don't know about you. We know what he can do. It felt like, and it still feels like now, a little bit of a guilty pleasure seeing Mitchell play so much in the preseason. I think he got the ball 9, or there it is on your screen top left, 9 total carries for 68 yards. Brent Urban's another one. No reason for him to be on the field, in my opinion, from the standpoint of figuring out if he can play. He just dominated the offensive line twice on run stops. A couple of random notes. I did see late in the game Kyle Hamilton with the headset on standing next to Zach Orr. And I mean late, like maybe 6-8 minutes left in the game. I think that's pretty cool. He's listening in on the calls from Orr, presumably any communication. He's probably only getting communication one way, but he's standing right next to Zach Orr. So if there's conversation from Orr going back up to coaches up top, DB, inside linebacker, what coaches, whatever, Kyle Hamilton's hearing that. So I think it's important that he's hearing what's being communicated in a situation like that late in the game. Just shows the level of maturity that I think is quite high. Loop coming back and nailing the 52-yarder, that made it 24-16, is important. He's extremely talented. We were very fortunate to get him, and I was happy that Harbaugh put him in that position and expected him to make it. A couple of complaints, one of which about the announcing crew. First of all, I really do like listening to Rod Woodson. I feel like him and Jerry Sandusky get along quite well. They have a good rapper, and they seem to play off of each other well in terms of leading one conversation into the next play. But I do have to exercise one complaint that for me is quite large. For you, it might be small. Sandusky, I could not believe it. He called the same formation power I 3 separate times. It's a little bit concerning to me that we're watching an NFL game and someone who is a professional announcer is labeling a formation power I in front of us that we can see on the screen that's clearly not. Yes, there's a fullback in the game. Yes, there's a tailback behind him, and the quarterback is under center. That's the I. Sandusky's dad played for the Colts when they actually probably ran some power I. So I'm just a little surprised, taken aback that he doesn't know that power I includes 3 running backs in the backfield behind the center in various alignments with usually 2 tight ends on the field. This is just a basic 21 personnel group. Maybe I should have shown a picture here for this part. But if this is a regular season broadcast and someone at the national level is saying something so incorrect once, okay, it's a blooper. He actually said it 4 times on 3 across 3 different plays. I feel like that you deserve criticism. If it was a national broadcast, you would get so. It's a local broadcast, so most people didn't hear it. It's kind of ridiculous to me, to my ears at least, to hear it described as such. Our DBs generally played pretty well. Tampa seemed like he was disconnected at times. 2 targets, maybe second, third quarter. It seemed like there was a little bit more space there than he wanted. But he had 2 contested catch situations, or 2 situations where he's in tight coverage, I should say. Marquise Robinson had a huge hit late in the game, a UDFA guy. On like an inside linebacker blitz, the quarterback got rid of it quick. Riley Leonard was in at that point. Just a great play. We also had a near interception on a ball that's maybe between Bo Brad and JAD, but I might be wrong. It ended up being completed. The Colts receiver caught it. I thought maybe those guys would have an opportunity to maybe make a play on the ball. I don't know what the plan is offensively for the rest of the preseason in terms of the passing game, because we'll have talent on the field, right? Wallace played some. He's incredibly efficient. Look at his preseason film last year. He really doesn't belong on the field. He's so much better than the guys he's facing. Wester, playmaker, for real, making a case to try to get on the team, so he'll be out there on the field. Walker, another one. Our backup quarterbacks either have to get better or we've got to make things easier for them at times, and the pass pro for the offensive line just has to improve. I just don't think any of us has any motivation to see Lamar on the field at all in the preseason. Colts standpoint, Riley Leonard had some nice moments. I believe he was like 10 of 18 leading up to the last drive or something when I really started to kind of accumulate my pictures here and my stats. 2 or 3 of his completions on the last drive are caught underneath his zone. We're up by 8, so I get it. Some of those are gimmies, if you will, but I thought he played well, especially the way he was able to move around a little bit. In the end, this comes off looking like a game where you can really talk about the Ravens' depth, the depth of the roster at multiple positions that's been built. I really am interested and a little disappointed to see what the O-line film looks like from a pass pro standpoint. We will get better. We got better last year. I recognize that we did get better, but we still went into week 1 against the Chiefs and week 2 against the Raiders and really struggled at the offensive line position. So if you think I'm harping on it too much, we just have a slightly different opinion about it. These guys have gone through training camp. It is a little bit earlier, I guess, for the first game. So nonetheless, that's my summary judgment for the team, that I'm excited about the depth and what we get to watch over the preseason. I have real concerns about the backup quarterback play and the offensive line in pass pro. As long as we got guys like that on the field, Keaton Mitchell, we know he'll make plays regardless, but there's a part of me that wishes we didn't have him out there at all, because I think he's so valuable to this team and could be a tremendous asset for the offense over a 17-game regular season and then in the playoffs. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of some of my thoughts. What I missed, I certainly didn't cover the second half that much. And those guys, those third string guys, and even UDFA guys deserve a little bit more attention than that. I'll try to give some of that out in my film study videos that'll come out in the next 2 or 3 days. I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section, like I said. And then number 2, I think other Ravens fans would like to hear my thoughts and what I may have enjoyed about the game or been disappointed by, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, share it out on social media to help this content get more reach.